I might be changing the subject a little bit away from racism, but you say that there's a hierarchy of needs that that needs to be met, right?
Hmm.
Um, what do you see that's that schools are falling behind on what students need?
Well, I mean, the first thing is the physiological need,
Hmm.
and that is, of course, we're doing the best we can. That's why the food program, the family assistance program that I'm so proud to be involved with Garvey and also with AYC and Humber School District. All of these school district, all of these educators, all of a sudden is now turned into frontline workers of providing and collecting and providing food for our families in need. I mean, this pandemic really spotlights the difference and the inequities in the haves and the have-not, the privileged
Hmm.
the ones who are in poverty. I mean, for to hear my students having to go to work with their parents, having to sew masks to pay rent. Um, that to me is just very troubling. I mean, it's children should be actively playing, should be enjoying childhood, should be outside riding their bikes, should be playing with their friends, should be playing board games, card games, being kids. Rather in this case, they're being asked to mature, to be mature, and I know all about that because I was forced to grow up very quickly at the age of 10. When my dad was legally blind, and my mom was the breadwinner, she worked 14 hours a day. That's where the difference is. Um, you know, White collar versus blue collar.
Hmm.
And then of course there's many of us who work on wages rather than on salary. So the white collars have certain hours of the day, and they get to come home to their families, and many times they don't have to work 12, 14 hours, and so kids are in those situations miss their parents. I have many of my students who don't see their parents, on a day-to-day basis because their parents has to work, 14-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts. Those in food industry, they open, from 8 to 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and kids don't get to see their parents. And these are the type of things that are really missing. That's the hierarchy of needs. The physiological needs that
Hmm.
the mental, the social, the sense of belonging, the sense of love. All of those plays into what's missing with a lot of our low socioeconomic students, and that's why we need to have counselors, nurses at every single schools.
Hmm.
And guess what? First thing they cut those area. Many school districts have nurses that works 2 or 3 schools, and then they hire a nurse assistant to help in those sense. And many counselors are sharing schools, are having to work 2, 3 schools, and so that's a problem that we need to have. We need to fully fund public education, and this is where we really, really need to
Hmm.
focus. And if we are able to provide those those hierarchies of need for our low socioeconomic students, you'll see the difference. You see the
Hmm.
performance level rise up very quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you were talking about the pandemic and how things are different and things are changing. There was something. This is totally unconfirmed, and this is also conjecture. We work with a lot of teachers in LA, and we work with folks out here in the San Gabriel Valley. But we're hearing that some teachers are not getting a hold of their students, and then we're learning that there is a discernible homeless population amongst students in high
Oh
school
yeah.
and within the the primary school, like elementary, middle school, high school. Yeah. And so it's getting tougher and tougher because if rent is not um being either subsidized or canceled or anything like that, like families have little to no options, given that the pandemic has been ravaging the United States. And then now, um with opening up, was a conversation last month. We're talking about closing it back up again. And so um how should we address those issues coming into the next school year, because it is coming up. It's July, it's early July right now. August is really coming up
It's just around the
sooner than you
corner.
think.
We're in July.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you in that. I mean, in terms of addressing that, I think many of us educators are making an attempt to address that, but we need our public leaders, our elected leaders, to really um, play a big role in this in regards to funding programs that are going to assist our homeless populations. Reason why many of us are unable to locate our students, our students' families, and get into communication with them is that uh, you know parents lose their job, they can't pay rents, so now they're homeless. Furthermore, their internet connections or their phone lines get disconnected because they're unable to pay. Um, you know, the governor talked about, well, he put a decree down where, people can't be evicted. People can't, phone lines can't be turned off. The utilities cannot be turned off. But guess what? Those are for your working class, your middle class, your upper class, whatever. But when you deal with low socioeconomic poverty level families, you're talking about families sometimes are undocumented. And then also these low income families many times don't know how to access these programs. And so where where we need help is providing access for them to get a hold of these help, these programs that that helps with locating affordable housing. This whole thing the governor talks about. Oh well, what was it? Spectrum was giving free internet for families. If you have school age students, that it'll be free for 2 months or 3 months or whatever not. But many of our families can't access these. In the first place, their internet gets disconnected, their phone gets disconnected. So now, where are they going to go to do that? And when you get to the Spectrum office or stores, what do you tell them? And of course, the sales folks, sales reps, don't know all the details. These are deals that are struck with corporates, and the corporate doesn't tell the salespeople, oh well, you have somebody that comes in and can't afford to pay it, you direct them to this person. It doesn't work that way, and it's like it's one of those things where don't ask, don't tell, kind of thing. So there is that fine inequities, and it's really being spotlighted very heavily during this pandemic, because you see that the folks who are educated, that are able to do all these things, they're surviving. But the ones who don't know how to access these things, that are not familiar with this, are going to need the extra help, and we're not doing enough to help these folks.
Yeah. And sometimes some families don't understand that, like, these programs are meant for them, like, or because the whole scare of public charge, back at the, like, the tail end of last year, right? Like, some parents are like, oh, can I get more extra food assistance because of the pandemic? Or, oh, like,
Right.
can I obtain this program where I can get internet for my child, and I think that there is a current fear of that idea of, if you obtain one thing, it cancels something else out. But this is, that fear right now. It's like, this is this is a extraneous circumstance, and, like, these things are meant to um help at a situation where you can't get yourself back up. And this is absolutely not to the fault of your own. Like, this is a pandemic. No one has control over something like this. And if it's any indication right now in the United States, it's like, yeah, we don't 100% understand or got a handle of what's going on with this current situation.
Look, I mean, someone who is the head of the entire United States.
Hmm.
Um, y'all call him president, but a president he is definitely
Hmm.
not. Doesn't act like one. Um, doesn't speak like one. Um, Certainly doesn't lead like one. And I mean, seriously, uh, you have a chance to make a difference.
Hmm.
I mean, a single person can make such a huge difference, and yet he chooses not to. He
Hmm.
chooses instead to antagonize, to add oils to fires. I mean, he's such an instigator.
Hmm.
So uh, we need to do better. And you know what? I'm sorry, at the national level, maybe not, but we certainly can do something at the local level. We certainly
Hmm.
can do something at the state level. Uh, I'm proud to be living in the state of California, where our governor gets it, and he's doing a lot of things right. It's not perfect. There's no one size fits all solutions, but he's getting the right people to help with the decision making. And so that's what we need. We need people to come together. We need people to really look at how uh, the ones who are capable can help the ones who are not. And that's where our elected officials can come in.
Hmm.
I want to point out that Dr. Judy Chu is doing everything she can from the national level. Hilda Solis is doing what she can as our supervisor, and getting out there, giving out foods, giving out, the other day she was giving out 1,000, Kindle Fire to kids who don't have access to technology. These are the type of things that we need for to help our students, especially if we're gonna like roll out and reopen schools in the fall.
Yeah.
And seriously, when we're in a pandemic like this, who really is going to have the mental capacity to focus in on learning?
Hmm.
That's my question. And that's what I've been putting out there to uh, to superintendents, to school board members. Not only that, but to my own school superintendent and school board members. I mean, do we really expect people to be able to focus
Hmm.
when they're trying to just plainly survive? And in Garvey School District, over 70% are free reduced lunch. Um, and I mean, these families desperately needs the help, and we're not getting it
Hmm.
from our elected leaders. And I mean, there are many that are doing what they can, but we need all of them. We need all of us to pitch in and do something.